Hello there, my sleepy fellows. Tonight, let's take a gentle walk far back through the winding corridors of time, beyond the familiar whispers of Hogwarts as we know it, into the quiet, forgotten corners where the first stones of the castle had only just settled into place, and the air still hummed with the ancient magic of beginnings. This isn't a tale of danger or fear, not tonight. No, tonight is a story of wonder, of quiet mystery, and of how one curious creature, tucked away in the cool shadows beneath the castle, would one day become a legend whispered through the halls, beneath the soft glow of lanterns, and in the pages of books left to gather dust in forgotten corners. The story of the very first basilisk. Perhaps you've heard the name, the great serpent, whose eyes, they say, can freeze even the bravest heart, whose presence coils silently through the stone walls of Hogwarts, whose tale became one of fear and power. But as with all legends, the beginning is softer, quieter, more mysterious than the tales passed from wizard to wizard ever led on. Tonight, we will drift gently through that beginning, exploring forgotten chambers, listening to the quiet hum of ancient spells, and discovering how a creature, small and curious, found its place in history. So settle in now, let your thoughts slow, your breathing ease, and if you enjoy these peaceful wanders through the hidden corners of the wizarding world, feel free to like this story, subscribe, and gently drift along with us. Because tonight, the castle is still, the shadows are soft, and the ancient stones of Hogwarts are ready to share their oldest secrets. Shall we begin? The castle was quiet tonight. High above the great towers of Hogwarts, the soft glow of the moon drifted through wisps of cloud, casting silver light along the weathered stone. Inside, the walls held their gentle hush, the portraits dozing in their frames, the candles flickering faintly along the endless corridors, all wrapped in the peaceful hum of the ancient castle settling into sleep. But in one quiet corner, down a narrow staircase that twisted behind the library's forgotten shelves, a soft, steady voice echoed, carrying the calm lilt of curiosity. It was Hermione Granger, seated cross-legged upon the floor of a tucked-away reading room, parchment and books spread neatly around her. Hermione's brown eyes shone with quiet wonder as she flipped through the pages of a worn, ancient volume titled Hogwarts, The Forgotten Histories. Beside her, sprawled across an old, comfortable chair, Ron Weasley yawned sleepily, his ginger hair sticking up in soft tufts as he tried to keep his eyes open. A nearly empty packet of Bertie Bott's every flavor beans rested on the floor beside him, and across from them, perched on a wide stone windowsill, sat Harry Potter. His green eyes reflected the faint glow of moonlight, his glasses slipping slightly down his nose as he leaned forward, listening. The castle hummed quietly around them, the gentle creaks of ancient floorboards, the low whisper of distant spells sleeping in the stone. Familiar, calming, Hermione's voice floated softly through the space. I've been reading about the founders again, and I found something odd. Harry tilted his head, his hand resting lightly on his wand. Odd how? She turned the book gently toward them, revealing a page with faded, looping script and a delicate sketch of a coiled serpent, its eyes large, its body sleek, almost curious. Before the Chamber of Secrets, before the legends of the great Basilisk, there was this, Hermione explained, her voice quiet but steady. The first Basilisk, but its story isn't what you think. Ron blinked sleepily. You mean before all the turning people to stone bit? Hermione nodded, her eyes soft with thought. Much before that, when Hogwarts was still young, when the castle itself was learning its magic. Harry's gaze lingered on the page, on the gentle, almost peaceful sketch of the serpent. There was a story here, a quiet one, tucked beneath the layers of fear and fable, waiting patiently to be heard. And tonight they would listen. The quiet rustle of turning pages filled the little reading room, blending softly with the steady hum of the castle beyond. Outside the high window, the moon drifted behind wisps of cloud, casting silver pools of light along the old stone floor. Harry leaned closer, his gaze lingering on the delicate sketch of the serpent nestled among the faded pages of Hermione's book. Its form was coiled, sleek, its eyes wide, not menacing, but curious, almost gentle. Ron shifted in his chair, the last of the Bertie Bott's beans forgotten beside him. So, this thing, the first Basilisk, it wasn't like the one, second year? Hermione's fingers brushed lightly along the page, her voice soft. Not at first. No. This was before the chamber, before the legend, before the fear. Harry tilted his head thoughtfully. Then where did it come from? Hermione's brow furrowed slightly, her eyes scanning the old text. That's the thing. It doesn't say exactly, just that when Hogwarts was still being built, when the magic was young, there was a creature, a serpent, born of spells, and something older, the first Basilisk. The room settled into thoughtful quiet, the old stone walls breathing their familiar warmth around them. And then came the first twist, a faint sound, soft, distant, drifting through the cracks of the castle, like the gentle hiss of a breeze stirring leaves, but it wasn't the wind. Harry's ears perked, his green eyes narrowing slightly, as the sound whispered again, a soft, sibilant hiss, weaving faintly along the edges of the stone. Hermione looked up from the book, her expression calm, curious. Did you hear that? Ron frowned gently, rubbing his eyes. Probably the pipes, or Peeves mucking about. But Harry recognized it. It wasn't the mischievous giggle of Peeves, nor the rattle of old plumbing, but something quieter, older, weaving softly through the stones. The serpent's voice, not words, not yet, just presence, and it was coming from somewhere below. The three friends exchanged a quiet glance, no fear, only gentle curiosity, the same curiosity that always seemed to guide them when the castle whispered its old secrets. They gathered their things, Hermione tucking the ancient book carefully into her bag, and together they stepped softly from the reading room. The corridor beyond stretched long and empty, the lanterns casting pools of faint golden light across the floor. The portraits along the walls dozed peacefully, their painted eyes closed in quiet slumber. The hissing sound returned, barely louder than a sigh, curling along the floor, down toward the lower levels. Step by step, they followed, down winding staircases, past forgotten alcoves, through cool stone passages worn smooth by time. The castle's magic settled gently around them, the soft hum steady beneath their feet, the old spells sleeping in the walls, patient, calm. The sound led them to a familiar landing, the entrance to a part of the castle less traveled, where ancient stones met newer repairs, where the air carried the cool, earthy scent of Hogwarts' deepest foundations. They paused at the top of a narrow staircase, the hissing sound now clearer, weaving softly up from the shadows below. Hermione's hand rested lightly on the stone banister, her eyes thoughtful. "The old dungeons," she murmured. "They were here, long before the classrooms." Ron gave a quiet chuckle, his voice still carrying that gentle edge of sleepiness. "Yeah, well, reckon the Basilisk would have liked the decor." Harry smiled faintly, his hand brushing along the cool wall. "It feels familiar." And it did. The castle, the magic, the quiet history, it all pulsed gently beneath their fingertips. Step by careful step, they descended into the lower levels. The light from their wands cast soft pools of golden glow along the worn stones, the air cool and still, the quiet hum of magic deepening with each step. At the bottom of the staircase, the passage opened into a wide, forgotten chamber. The walls curved gently, carved with faint, ancient runes barely visible beneath layers of time and dust. And at the center lay the source of the sound, a narrow crack in the stone floor, barely wider than a hand, weaving its way along the ground, like an old scar hidden beneath the castle's foundation. From within, the faintest shimmer of green light pulsed, steady, patient, alive. The hissing drifted softly upward, curling around them, not loud, not dangerous, only present. Hermione knelt carefully near the crack, her brown eyes shifting with quiet wonder. "It's not a creature, not yet," she whispered. "It's magic." The realization settled over them gently, like a forgotten story softly unfolding. The basilisk, the first one, wasn't born in the way people remembered. It was grown beneath the castle, in the quiet ancient stones, in the hum of forgotten spells, in the old patient magic that wove itself through every brick and beam. A creature of possibility, of curiosity, of the castle's oldest enchantments, gently breathing life into legend. Harry rested his hand lightly upon the cool stone, feeling the faint pulse beneath. Not fear, but potential. The soft hum of the castle deepened around them, the hissing fading into the steady heartbeat of old magic settling once more. And in that moment, they understood. The first basilisk wasn't born of fear or malice. It was a whisper of the castle's magic, taking shape, weaving gently into the beginning of a story that would one day become a legend. But for now, it was quiet, curious, waiting, as all stories do, to be seen. The chamber lay quiet, bathed in the soft glow of their wands, the faint pulse of green light drifting gently from the narrow crack in the stone floor. The ancient magic that hummed through the foundations of Hogwarts wrapped around them, steady, calm, as though the castle itself was watching, waiting. For a moment, none of them spoke. The faint hissing sound had faded into stillness, replaced by a low, steady hum, the sound of the old magic settling into the stones, breathing softly beneath their feet. Hermione's fingers brushed lightly along the edge of the crack, her expression thoughtful, full of quiet wonder. "The first basilisk," she whispered. "It didn't simply appear. It was part of the castle, grown from the magic woven into these walls." Harry knelt beside her, his hand resting gently against the cool stone. The faint green glow shimmered beneath his fingertips, warm, curious, not threatening, but alive with potential. Ron shifted slightly, his blue eyes wide, still carrying that soft, sleepy curiosity. "So, the basilisk, it's not a monster yet. It's just waiting?" Hermione nodded slowly, her brown eyes lingering on the old runes carved faintly into the chamber walls. Waiting, watching, learning. The room settled into peaceful stillness once more, the faint hum of magic cradling them like a soft blanket. And then came the second twist. The green glow beneath the stone pulsed gently, once, twice, and with it, a new sound drifted upward. It wasn't a hiss, nor the low hum of magic, but something older, softer, like the quiet song of the earth shifting beneath the ancient roots. And as they listened, the stone beneath their feet rippled faintly, like the surface of a still lake stirred by a gentle breeze. Hermione's eyes widened slightly, her voice low, steady. "It's growing." The crack along the floor widened ever so slightly, the green glow deepening, revealing the faint outline of something coiled beneath the stone, not fully formed, but present, patiently waiting. The creature, the basilisk, was awakening, but it wasn't the fierce, dangerous beast the legends would one day speak of. Not yet. It was young, quiet, curious, woven from the old magic of the castle itself. Harry's hand hovered over the glow, the pulse of magic steady beneath his fingertips. There was no fear, only connection. The castle, the magic, the creature, they were all threads of the same Quidditch story, woven together in the shadows beneath Hogwarts. Ron knelt beside him, his voice carrying that same gentle awe. "It's kind of beautiful, isn't it?" Hermione smiled softly, her gaze lingering on the glowing crack. "It's a reminder that all stories, even the dark ones, begin quietly, full of wonder." The glow pulsed once more, and then something new stirred within the chamber. Along the ancient walls, the faint carvings shimmered to life. Images appeared, delicate and glowing, scenes of the castle's early days. The founders themselves standing together, the stones still raw and new beneath their feet, the magic young and curious. And among them, the image of a small, coiled serpent, its body sleek, its eyes wide, not fierce, not dangerous, but curious, exploring the foundations, weaving gently into the castle's quiet beginnings. Harry, Hermione, and Ron watched as the glowing images shifted, the serpent growing alongside the castle, its presence quiet, hidden, becoming part of the magic that whispered through every corridor, every hidden door, every forgotten corner. It wasn't until much later the images showed that fear found its way into the story. When the castle's quiet magic was twisted, when legends replaced understanding, when the basilisk, once small and curious, became a symbol not of wonder but of fear. And yet, beneath it all, the old magic remained, the creature's beginning, untouched, quiet, waiting to be remembered. The images faded softly, the green glow settling once more beneath the stone. The chamber still, calm, the hum of magic steady in the air. Hermione's voice drifted gently through the quiet. The legend, the danger, it came later, but at the beginning, the basilisk was simply part of the castle. Harry nodded softly, his green eyes thoughtful, steady. A creature of magic, not malice. The old magic pulsed faintly beneath their feet, the castle breathing around them, ancient, constant, alive. They sat quietly for a while, letting the gentle truth settle over them. No urgency, no need for answers, only understanding. The basilisk's story, like all stories, had layers, beginnings hidden beneath the weight of legend, quiet truths waiting beneath the fear. And tonight, they had listened. They had seen the gentle, hidden beginning of a creature woven into the heart of Hogwarts, waiting, patient, part of the castle's ancient, steady song. The chamber fell into a peaceful hush once more, the soft glow of ancient magic fading gently along the walls, leaving only the faint pulse beneath the stone. Steady, alive, waiting. Harry, Hermione, and Ron sat quietly in the cool stillness, their breathing slow, their thoughts lingering on the quiet truths the chamber had shown them. The first basilisk, not yet a creature of fear, but a whisper of possibility, a living thread woven softly into the foundations of Hogwarts. Hermione traced her fingers lightly along the stone floor, her brown eyes full of thought. The legends, they only ever told the ending, she murmured, not how it began, not the quiet part, the wonder. Ron leaned back against the cool wall, his expression carrying that familiar, sleepy curiosity. It's odd, isn't it? Knowing that even the scariest stories start out small, quiet, almost harmless. Harry's green eyes drifted across the chamber, his hand resting gently on the smooth stone. It makes you wonder how many other stories are buried down here, waiting. The thought settled softly around them, like the hush of snowfall in the castle's forgotten corners. They stood slowly, their footsteps quiet against the cool floor, the soft hum of magic following them as they stepped back toward the narrow staircase leading to the upper corridors. The castle seemed to breathe around them, ancient, patient, alive with whispered stories tucked gently into the walls. But the sense of quiet wonder wasn't finished as they climbed the stairs, A soft sound drifted toward them, faint, like the distant echo of something, shifting, not loud, not alarming, only present. The trio paused near the top of the staircase, listening. The faint sound, like stone grinding softly against stone, came again, Hermione's brow furrowed slightly, her eyes thoughtful. The castle's moving. Ron tilted his head. It does that sometimes. Stairs changing, walls adjusting. Harry's hand rested lightly along the wall, the cool surface pulsing faintly with old magic. But this feels different. They followed the sound gently, their wands casting soft light along the corridors as they walked. The walls around them, familiar and ancient, seemed to breathe quietly, as though shifting, rearranging themselves, revealing, or perhaps remembering. The sound led them to a narrow, arched passage, one Harry hadn't noticed before. The stone archway shimmered faintly, carved with delicate runes similar to those in the chamber below. Hermione stepped closer, her voice soft with realization. The castle's opening. They passed beneath the arch, entering a small, hidden corridor that curved gently downward, its walls etched with faint carvings of leaves, stars, and serpents. The faint pulse of magic deepened as they walked, the air cool and still, yet full of quiet presence. The passage opened into a forgotten room, its ceiling low, its walls lined with old stone benches and dusty, worn tapestries. But it was the floor that caught their attention. At the center of the room, etched delicately into the stone, was a great circle, its edges lined with the same familiar runes, its center filled with the coiled image of a serpent, eyes wide, watching, the mark of the basilisk. But unlike the fearful symbols woven into modern legends, this serpent's image was peaceful, steady, its form curling gently like a creature resting in the quiet shadows. Harry knelt beside the marking, his fingers brushing lightly along the cool stone. The hum of magic pulsed faintly beneath his touch, calm, patient. Hermione's eyes traced the carvings along the walls. This was a sanctuary, she whispered, for the creature before everything changed. Ron gave a soft whistle, his eyes wide with gentle wonder. The basilisk had a nest. The thought settled over them, not heavy, but curious. This wasn't a lair built in secret, but a space offered by the castle itself, a place of beginnings, of gentle magic, of a creature growing quietly beneath the stones. They sat together near the center of the room, their voices low, their presence calm, letting the hum of old magic settle around them. The faint sound of shifting stone drifted through the walls, the castle breathing, adjusting, remembering, and within the peaceful quiet, they understood. The basilisk, before it was legend, before it was feared, had lived here, woven into the castle's story, growing with the walls, watching with the magic, hidden, but never alone. The sanctuary beneath Hogwarts, forgotten by time, remained a gentle reminder that every story begins softly. The room hummed quietly as they sat, the walls holding the steady magic of old spells, ancient beginnings and the patient unfolding of a legend that, at its heart, began not with fear, but with wonder. The quiet hum of old magic drifted gently through the hidden sanctuary, wrapping the small room in its steady, peaceful warmth. The walls held their ancient stillness, the soft carvings of serpents and leaves glowing faintly beneath the light of their wands, and the mark of the coiled basilisk etched into the stone floor pulsed softly, not with menace, but with quiet life. For a long moment, Harry, Hermione, and Ron sat in stillness, letting the weight of the space settle around them, not heavy, but thoughtful, calm. It wasn't like the stories they'd heard growing up, tales of great, terrifying serpents coiled in the shadows, of danger and darkness hiding beneath Hogwarts. No, this was something older, gentler, a quiet beginning forgotten by time. Hermione's fingers brushed lightly along the carved wall, tracing the delicate lines of the ancient runes. Her brown eyes sparkled softly in the golden light. This place, it wasn't hidden out of fear, she whispered. It was protected, preserved. Ron tilted his head, his expression carrying quiet curiosity as he studied the peaceful serpent etched into the floor. Reckon the founders knew about it? Harry's gaze lingered on the soft glow of the markings, his hand resting gently on the stone. They didn't just know, he murmured. They built this for it. The castle, the sanctuary, the old magic breathing through the walls. It was all part of the same story, not a story of fear or hiding, but of care, of quiet beginnings, of a creature woven gently into the heart of Hogwarts. They explored the small sanctuary slowly, unhurried, their footsteps light, their voices low. There were no grand discoveries here, only quiet details, waiting to be seen. Tucked into one corner, beneath a worn tapestry, they found a small stone basin, its edges lined with faint carvings, filled with cool, clear water that shimmered faintly with enchantment. Hermione knelt beside it, her eyes thoughtful. It's like a reflection pool. Harry leaned in beside her, the surface of the water glowing softly beneath their wands. Within it, they saw the castle, but not as it stood today. It was younger, raw, its stones newly placed, its towers rising steady but unfinished, the magic woven into its walls still finding its rhythm. And beneath it, coiled softly among the foundations, the small, curious form of the first basilisk, watching, listening, part of the castle's quiet song. Ron let out a low breath, his eyes wide with wonder. It's showing us the beginning. The vision rippled gently, the young serpent exploring the shadows beneath the castle, its eyes wide, not fierce, but full of cautious curiosity. It had grown with the castle, listening to the magic, finding its place. And somewhere along the way, the story changed. Fear crept into the quiet. Misunderstanding replaced patience, and the creature, once small and gentle, became legend, became danger. The vision faded, the water settling into stillness once more. The room fell quiet again, the hum of old magic steady in the walls. Hermione stood slowly, brushing dust from her robes. "We can't change the stories people tell," she said softly, "but we can remember the beginning." Harry nodded gently, his green eyes lingering on the peaceful marking at the center of the floor. "It matters how things begin." Ron tilted his head, his voice carrying that familiar warmth. "And maybe not all endings are written yet." They explored a little longer, their curiosity steady, their footsteps calm. The sanctuary held no grand secrets, only quiet truths, gentle reminders of how the castle, the magic, the legends had always been shaped by patience, by wonder, by care. Eventually, they found their way back to the arched passage, the faint glow of the sanctuary fading softly behind them as they stepped once more into the cool, quiet corridors of Hogwarts. The castle breathed around them, ancient, constant, alive with quiet stories, patiently waiting for those willing to see, and tonight they had chosen to listen. The quiet stone corridors of Hogwarts stretched before them, bathed in soft golden light from floating lanterns overhead. The faint hum of the castle's magic pulsed beneath their feet, old, steady, familiar now, like the slow, patient rhythm of something ancient, something alive. Harry, Hermione, and Ron walked calmly along the narrow passage, their footsteps unhurried, their voices low, thoughtful. Behind them, the hidden sanctuary of the first basilisk settled once more into stillness, the carved serpent upon the floor watching gently from the shadows, the soft hum of old magic returning to its steady song. And though the walls ahead were the same cool stone as always, they no longer felt ordinary, not after what they'd seen. The castle carried its secrets not with malice, but with patience, gently weaving them into the stone, into the shadows, waiting for those willing to see beyond the fear, beyond the stories whispered in the dark. They passed beneath an old archway, the carvings along its edges faint, worn smooth by time, yet still present. Hermione's brown eyes lingered upon them, her voice soft. The founders, the magic, the castle, they didn't build Hogwarts with walls alone. They built it with choices. Ron tilted his head, rubbing the back of his neck. Choices like keeping a giant serpent under the floor. Harry smiled faintly, the quiet wonder of the evening still steady in his chest. Not keeping it hidden, weaving it in, making it part of this place. As they walked, the castle around them shifted ever so gently, the faint sound of stone adjusting, not loud, but present, as though Hogwarts itself listened, remembered, adapted, and then they saw it. Another doorway, narrow, tucked neatly between two familiar tapestries, its wooden frame lined with the same runes they'd followed before. But this door was new, or perhaps simply newly revealed. The faint pulse of magic drifted from the edges, inviting, calm, patient. They exchanged a glance, no fear, only quiet understanding. Together, they stepped through. The space beyond was small, rounded, its walls curved in gentle arches, their surfaces smooth, marked only by faint carvings of leaves, of stars, of serpents coiled peacefully in the shadows. At the center of the room rested a simple stone pedestal. Upon it lay an old, delicate journal, its leather cover worn, its pages yellowed with age, yet untouched, waiting. Hermione approached first, her fingers brushing lightly along the cover. The magic of the room hummed softly, steady, watching as she opened the journal carefully, revealing pages of looping, handwritten script, and a symbol etched upon the inside cover, a serpent, small, coiled, its eyes wide, peaceful, the mark of the first basilisk. Harry and Ron leaned in, their eyes following the words as Hermione read aloud, her voice low, steady, carrying the gentle rhythm of discovery. It began not with fear, but with wonder. A creature born of magic, of curiosity, of the quiet spaces between walls, beneath stone, beside spell and song. The first basilisk, not summoned, not forced, but woven into the castle's breath, a guardian, not of power, but of potential. The words settled softly into the room, the faint hum of the castle's magic deepening around them. They turned the pages slowly, reading the quiet reflections of the founders, the careful choices, the old magic that shaped not only the walls of Hogwarts, but the creatures, the possibilities, hidden gently within. The first basilisk had not been a weapon, it had been a beginning, a reminder that even in the deepest shadows, even beneath the quietest stones, life, wonder, and magic patiently, quietly grow. Harry's hand rested gently upon the pedestal, his green eyes thoughtful. They never meant it to be feared. Hermione nodded softly, but fear has a way of changing stories. Ron exhaled, his voice dubiously curious, and maybe seeing the start changes them back. The journal closed with a soft whisper, the old magic humming around them, gentle, steady, as the castle's walls settled into quiet stillness once more. They stood for a long moment, no urgency, only understanding. The basilisk's story was not simply of danger, but of beginnings, of curiosity, of the quiet magic that still, to this day, breathes through the stone, waiting, watching, patient, ready to be seen. And tonight, they had seen. The small, hidden room settled into stillness once more, the faint glow of old magic curling softly along the walls like mist drifting across calm water. The journal rested gently upon the pedestal, its worn pages tucked closed, its quiet truths shared, now safely folded back into the shadows. Harry, Hermione, and Ron lingered for a moment longer, the hush of the space wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Steady, familiar, full of understanding, the castle, they realized, had always been more than stone and spells. It breathed, it watched, it remembered, and deep beneath its grand towers and endless staircases, the gentle hum of hidden stories pulsed quietly, patient, steady, waiting for those willing to listen. The first basilisk, a creature of old magic, of curiosity, not born from fear, but from the same quiet wonder that had built the walls of Hogwarts itself. Ron stretched slightly, his voice carrying that soft edge of thoughtfulness. Strange to think how different the stories feel once you hear the beginning. Hermione smiled faintly, brushing dust from her robes. The beginning always matters. Harry's hand lingered on the old stone wall, the faint warmth of magic steady beneath his fingertips. It's still here, all of it. The magic, the story, the quiet. They stepped softly back through the narrow doorway, the cool corridors of Hogwarts welcoming them once more, their footsteps light, unhurried, the castle's quiet song humming gently beneath the stones. The lanterns flickered softly overhead, casting pools of warm golden light across the floor. The portraits along the walls dozed peacefully, their painted eyes closed in calm slumber. As they made their way toward Gryffindor Tower, the familiar halls stretched before them, but everything, somehow, felt different. Not changed, not altered, but seen, understood, appreciated in its quiet, ancient wholeness. The old magic hummed gently through the walls, not loud, not demanding, only present, steady, alive. In the common room, the fire crackled softly in the hearth, its glow casting gentle shadows across the familiar armchairs and scattered books. They settled into their usual places, no words needed, their hearts full, their minds peaceful, their thoughts heavy with quiet wonder. Outside the tall windows, the moon drifted higher into the night sky, the castle resting, its stories safe, its magic steady. And beneath the stones, tucked gently into the foundations, the first basilisk coiled quietly, not with fear, but with calm, with patience, with the same ancient, steady rhythm that carried Hogwarts through the ages. All was well, all was calm, and the castle watched over them as it always had. The castle slept quietly now. High above the towers, the sky stretched endless and calm, the moon drifting like a watchful guardian across a sea of stars. The windows of Hogwarts glowed softly in the darkness, warm, steady, like small beacons of magic and peace. Inside, all was still. The portraits slumbered gently in their frames. The common rooms wrapped themselves in the cozy hush of late night, and deep beneath the stone floors, the ancient magic hummed on, quiet, patient, alive. The sanctuary of the first basilisk, hidden, peaceful, tucked beneath the castle's great foundation, rested, untouched, its quiet truth safe beneath layers of time and whispered legend. In Gryffindor Tower, the fire in the hearth flickered low, its last embers glowing softly as Harry, Hermione, and Ron drifted into stillness, the gentle weight of the night settling over them like a warm blanket. No wild spells, no frantic discoveries, only understanding. The greatest stories, they realized, often begin in whispers, unfold slowly, and rest quietly, waiting for those willing to listen. And tonight, they had listened. As you, dear listener, rest now, let your thoughts settle gently too. Let the magic of hidden spaces, of quiet beginnings, of patient stories wrap softly around you, guiding you toward sleep. There is no need to rush, no need to search, only to breathe, to be still, and to know that the castle, the magic, and the stories will always be here, gently watching, patiently waiting, ready to be seen. Sleep well, dream softly, and may your heart always find the quiet wonder tucked gently beneath the stones of Hogwarts. Good night.